Hey there! Welcome to this video on this channel, How About Val? So far this year, I've read a total of 15 books. I'm actually so surprised at my pace this year compared to last year because I feel like this point last year I had read at least 7 more books. But whatever, who's keeping count, right? By the way, I won't be going into too much detail about these books, so you don't have to worry about spoilers. And with that, let's dive in. Up first, we have The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston. This magical realism story follows a publicist named Clementine who happens to move into her aunt's old apartment and unexpectedly finds out that she has a temporary roommate, a strange yet fascinating man. A connection starts to develop between the two, and then she discovers that he lives 7 years in the past. I found this book to be a light, cute, but heartfelt read. It was quite refreshing and different from the more popular romance novels today. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. Next up is One by One by Ruth Ware. It is a thriller set in a French Alps ski chalet. The story revolves around a group of coworkers on a corporate retreat who become cut off from the outside world when an avalanche happens. As they become trapped in the chalet, one by one, members of the group start to die under mysterious circumstances. I enjoyed the dynamics in the group, the drama, the secrets that began to spill. I thoroughly enjoyed that. And the last quarter of the book really gripped me with the action and intensity. On the other hand, the culprit's motive was not that well developed for me, and some parts of the book were a bit slow. So I ended up giving it a 3 out of 5 stars. Next up is Anxious People by Frederick Bachman. It is a heartwarming novel that explores the lives of several characters brought together by a failed bank robbery turned hostage situation. The novel explores themes of empathy, human connection, and the complexities of everyday life. This book was so surprising to me because I was not expecting how much it would touch my heart. The witty dialogue, the poignant moments truly affected me. And I did shed tears listening to the audiobook because, yes, there were some aspects of the story I would have liked to have been altered a little, but it was great overall, and I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. The Friend Zone by Abby Jimenez is a contemporary romance that follows the story of Kristen, who, despite her attraction to a man named Josh, tries to keep the relationship platonic to avoid complications. However, as they grow closer, feelings deepen and they face the complexities of love, friendship, and personal obstacles. I must say, this book was definitely my least favorite Abby Jimenez book. I found the lack of clear communication between the characters to be so wildly annoying. So many of the miscommunications could have simply been avoided if they just spoke their feelings and were honest with each other more quickly. I really dislike the miscommunication trope, as you can tell, which is why I had to give this book a 2 out of 5 stars. The next book is What the River Knows by Isabel Ibanez. It is a historical fantasy that is set in the 19th century that follows our main character Inez, who is frequently left behind in Buenos Aires as her parents have business in Cairo, Egypt. After the tragic death of her parents, Inez inherits their fortune and is left with unanswered questions. She sails to Cairo and encounters trouble and mysterious obstacles on her journey to uncover the truth about her parents' disappearance. I was surprised by how much I actually like this book. I'm not usually a fan of historical fiction, but I really like the setting and the plot. There was even a plot of romance. It was a rivals to lovers situation, and it was done quite well, in my opinion. So I gave the book a 4 out of 5 stars. Next is Finding Me by Viola Davis, which is a memoir where the actress shares her journey from a childhood marked by poverty and dysfunction to becoming a celebrated Hollywood star. She reflects on her struggles with identity, self worth, and navigating the complexities of class and race. I read this book because Haley Pham mentioned it in one of her videos. Shout out Haley Pham. And I thought it was so enlightening to see how much Viola had to overcome in her life to get to where she is now. And it provided insight into the lived experience of another person in such a raw way, which is why I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. Next is 0 Days by Ruth Ware. It is a thriller that follows a woman named Jack who, along with her husband, are hired by companies to break into buildings and hack security systems. When a job goes wrong, she arrives home to find that her husband has been murdered. She is the prime suspect and on the run as she tries to prove her innocence and solve her husband's death. I like the premise of the book, but that's basically the only thing. I thought that some of the main characters' actions felt so unrealistic, and really the thrilling aspect of the book was really lacking for me. So I ultimately gave it a 2 out of 5 stars. The next book is Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. It centers around two friends who come together as creative partners to design a video game. It follows them across a number of years where they experience success, fame, joy, and tragedy. This book has been so popular on BookTube for like the last 2 years, and I finally got around to it. This story was very unique and quite experimental, which I enjoyed. On the other hand, I felt like it was a tad too long and the choices made by some of the characters frustrated me so much. So I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars. Next up is the Happy Ever After playlist by Abby Jimenez. It is a contemporary romance that follows Sloane, a woman trying to recover from the loss of her fiance who passed 2 years earlier. One day she comes across a stray dog who belongs to Jason, a musician who she ends up building a connection with. However, aspects such as unresolved grief and demanding careers test their budding relationship. I found that I definitely prefer this book over the other books in the Friend Zone series, and I found the characters to be somehow more believable and the romance to be more genuine. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. Next is Mr. Magic by Kirsten White, and it's what I would describe as a creepy thriller mystery. The story is centered around the five surviving cast members of a children's program 30 years after a tragic accident shut down its production. They reunite to uncover the events that ended their show and discover the secrets of its host. To be completely honest, this would probably be the most confusing story I have ever experienced. It left me with questions from some of the aspects and plot lines that were just not addressed clearly. The premise sounded so promising, but the book was ultimately boring and quite forgettable, so I ended up giving it a 1 out of 5 stars. Is My Husband by Maud Ventura. It is centered around a French woman who is completely, absolutely obsessed with her husband. She watches him very closely and plans every encounter they have, while also focusing on making her overall disposition seem effortless. The main character for me was so interesting. She seemed to be pretty mentally unwell, which leaned into the unreliable narrator aspect, which I quite enjoyed. The story was lacking in some areas for me, but I like that it was a short book and did not drag things along, so I ended up giving it a 3 out of 5 stars. The next book is My Dark Vanessa by Kate Elizabeth Russell, which is a contemporary novel that explores a complex and deeply disturbing relationship between Vanessa, a young student, and her much older English teacher. Set in the 2000s when Vanessa was in high school and 2017 when she is an adult, the story dives into the psychological manipulation and long-term effects of their relationship. First off, a giant content trigger warning on this book. This was definitely a difficult read. No surprise there. I found it to be so frustrating, disturbing, and just plain sad. Though being a work of fiction, it was definitely an important story to read. I ended up giving it a 3 out of 5 stars. The next book is The First Lie Wins by Ashley Elston. It follows a woman who takes on different identities as assigned by her mysterious boss. In her most recent role of taking on the identity of Evie Porter, she encounters betrayal and peculiar events, ones which leave her vulnerable and potentially compromised. I found this book to be just okay. There really wasn't anything in it that particularly stood out to me or that I enjoyed. So I gave it a 2 out of 5 stars. Book is Normal People by Sally Rooney. It is a contemporary novel that explores the complex relationship between two young people from a small town in Ireland. The story follows them through their high school years as well as university. They navigate their friendship, romance, and the ups and downs of their relationship over several years. I can almost guarantee this is not your first time seeing this cover or hearing about this book because it is so popular. It was adapted a few years ago into a series on Hulu, though I never did watch it. Anyway, how the plot used miscommunications between the characters so frequently impacted my experience with the book a lot. I found it to be quite irritating and I did not enjoy the aspect of the novel, which is why I had to give it a 2 out of 5 stars. That, folks, was the 15 books that I have read so far this year. Once again, it's been a pretty slow reading year for me, but that's okay. That's totally okay and acceptable. Yeah, I feel like it's been a great year so far. There were some low-rated books in this list, but there were also some books, I rated quite high. So I feel like I got a good mix of both, a balance. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Make sure to subscribe and like this video, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.